with you this Wednesday morning. So, yeah, Sister's Keeper is where we at this morning. How can you look out for your sister in different ways? As I was explaining earlier, Kuti, can we exist in a time where there is really, really, really natural love that exists between our sisters? Right now, you hear stories of, hey, she took my man, hey, she did this to me. But why is that? Why do we have all that animosity, amongst our women? And our disclaimer again, Kuti, I'm not saying we don't find women who are for each other, who are for that unity, for that collaboration. We actually have those kind of women, but it's the bulk of the women who are exhibiting this selfishness that we really need to curb at some point. My guest is in the studio, Amina Michelle Maseko. Good morning to you, Amina. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning to you, Scott. It's lovely to be back here. It's amazing. It's amazing. I'm excited.
Lovely. Let's do this. So, selflessness amongst women.
Mm-hmm.
Do you believe there are people who are truly selfless in their ways?
I do and I don't.
Okay. Explain that for us.
Okay. You said people in general, not women?
Let's start with people and then we go to women.
Okay. There are people who are selfless. People who are really selfless. I've seen people who believe in service above self, who really do everything for everyone. But the danger in that is sometimes you forget that you matter too. And then I've seen people who are very selfish in good and bad ways. I think be selfless to a fault. Yeah, be selfless to a fault.
I get you.
Yeah.
So when it comes to women now,
Mm-hmm.
Do you believe we've got a demographic who are selfless?
I do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How can you munari selfless? I know neka say. What are the traits of someone that's not gonna but you sure are selfless?
Okay, I think once you always put the needs of others first before yours, or in any scenario where you always are able, you are very much able to be empathetic, to put yourself in other people's shoes and actually view scenarios from their point of view. I think that's selfless enough.
So, putting yourself in other people's shoes, considering others first, then we can tell to know this person is really selfless. I like using this example. It seems as if it's easy for us as men to kind of like be there for each other without expectations,
Yeah.
and my easiest example, I gave it a few minutes ago. I can travel with someone for a very long distance without knowing their name, but King, or even not even traveling, but Marain generally wants to say master, but say chief. But with women, there's always that line. So we are going to die. We are going to so and I don't know why it's like that. And because of that, it then puts a filter in trying to unite and collaborate and be there for each other as women, because the first filter is to say, I hate with yake. You hate with your moon, but just the being of someone, you hate the being of someone, and that already is toxic for me. So why do you think that exists among women?
I think the starting point is what language have we been taught as a society? And language is not only semantics, what you say, but it's even your body language and all of that. So it's a language we've generally allowed to perpetuate amongst women. And also it's a narrative. So if a generation is not intentional about breaking a narrative, then it persists. So no one even knows why people do that. But they do it because they think they are expected to, because the narrative says women hate each other. So I guess the starting point should be, let's change the narrative. Women can love each other. And don't be the woman who stands amongst other people and says women hate each other. We hate each other as women. Like, I've heard that even from other girls, even other women. By doing so, language is the starting point.
Yeah.
So we should just change the way we speak to ourselves. Yeah.
I like the word that you use, in intentionality, because when you're intentional about something, you stand a better chance of changing it rather than when you're just doing something. But Atina, we're not doing things intentionally. And you also spoke about how the Ingori narrative yagara said vakadzi ndo zvavanoita izvi,
And conforming to something is easier than breaking it. To just conform kungoti, everyone will understand.
Yeah.
Kuti, that's how women are, don't you know?
Yeah.
But to then be intentional about
Yeah.
saying, I'm going to be the woman who decides that this is not the narrative we are going to persist with as a gender.
Yeah.
I think.
But also, when we speak about how it happens, also I feel like, I don't know if it's inborn, kuti ungoitira that the next person jealous kana godore ngoti atenga mota aenda Dubai. What fuels that? Is it because sometimes iwo semukadzi unenge you hope kuti dai zvaitika kwandiri and not to the next person, or not necessarily to the next person, but why not me?
Okay. I get it. I actually was on the phone with a friend of mine yesterday, and I actually said, Tatenda, you sound very happy today, unlike the last time I talked to you. And she said, I don't know, but somewhere along the lines, I just learned to be grateful, to be content. Actually, content is the word. I don't think it's a women problem, it's a people problem.
Yeah.
It's a people problem, although women are then more vocal about it. Like, they would really show that they are not happy when. But I feel like it's an issue of contentment. There is a human obsession with more. I don't know where it comes from. You want a car. One day from Banekombi, you want a car. You get a car, outside Honda Fit, Wakuda Land Rover. You're in a Land Rover, you're like, you know what, I should be getting flights. And all of that. It's the human obsession with more. And it comes naturally. It comes naturally. But if we can learn like these bad habits, we can also harness the good ones.
Yeah.
So be intentional. Be intentional.
Yeah.
Every time you find yourself in that pit of, oh my God, this is happening for them, but not for me. This is happening for them, but why not for me? I think quickly remind yourself. That way you calibrate your mind to always be content with where you are.
Absolutely. Do you think that the environment has any effect in terms of how perhaps women might look at each other? I'll give an example. Just a general example, Kuti. The salon has been for ages termed to be the place where kana donza makuwa esi kuti ningakarorwa naningi akazorambwa akaita so akaita say a hub. But also now from what you are saying now, I'm figuring out kuti pamwe it's just a narrative about kusalon ndongoita makuwa, pamwe takazongopembedza kuti ndongoita makuwa, but no, sometimes you will find kuti musalon mutone zvinhu zviri constructive zvinotaura imomo, people have actually helped each other kuti akone wewe situation yako ukadai so unogona kubuda so.
Yeah. So like what you said, it's just a narrative. I've been to salons for real where I came out with all the .com. I just needed to then place the detail to the faces.
Yeah.
But I've also been to salons where people actually talked out their problems, and there is so much resonance, like in places where women just gather. For example, you may be sitting at home and thinking you're the only one who's going through a problem. Then you go to salon and you mention it, and then someone says, oh my God, that happened to me too.
Right.
And then someone says, that happened to me too. And all those to me too is then come up as this whole moment of you resonating with each other, and it's a beautiful thing to see. And you actually feel better about your issue after that. At least I'm not the only one. If it's really that bad, you actually probably can even find solutions. So again, like you said, it's a stereotype. And it's also generally, people are people. Pakango sangano zvidakwa panongoita zvinoitika nezvidakwa. Then pakasangano people with great minds. The same. So it depends with who you meet at the salon that day.
Yeah.
But like I said, I've been to salons where I really felt like, this is a great space to be in, people just supporting each other. Then in other places where it was wow,
Yeah, it was different.
it was different.
What's been your experience with fellow women when you've tried to be selfless? Have you received the same energy that you passed on? Because we hear of stories wekuti sure pamwe ndakatobetsera mwana uyu nchiti this is my little sister, but at some point pamwe akura tangati hamuna zvamambondiitira kana kuti we've heard wild stories, some even kutoti anzi akatozonditorera murume, and you wonder kuti ko I'm giving you this energy, pure energy, saying I want to help you wangu, ndaona situation yako and I feel like I can help you, but at the end of the day you don't receive the same energy, and zimenguva is so demoralizing zvekuti you won't pass it to the next person because you're like ndakadzidza kuti people are not grateful. Yeah.
Okay, I've heard such stories, and I can also say that I've experienced experiences with friends where I really thought loyalty was a thing, hey? And you just realize, it's not for both of us. But I think once we use the word selfless, there's no expectation. Cancel expectations. So just because, I don't think goodness is contagious. I don't know, probably an unpopular opinion. So simply because you've been good to people, you can't really expect them to be good to you simply because you've been good to them. It's unrealistic because people are people. People will always be people. Sometimes you just meet a needy person. I think there's this thing that neediness and goodness are not synonyms. You understand? If a person is in need and they come to you, there is the general thinking that we have that because one is vulnerable, we automatically think they are good.
Yeah.
Because one is in a situation where we are able to help them, we think they'll automatically be good to us. But I think once you use the word selfless, if you choose to be selfless, let there be no expectation. If you're good to people, let it be for you.
Yeah.
Let it be for you. Let it be because you want to, you are able to.
Yeah.
Because people, battle header.
For real. No, but
real.
I get where you're coming from. But also the extension, like I was saying, is hongu, I don't expect anything from someone. I'm just doing it out of love. Yeah. But when it becomes a cycle where I do something, I'm not expecting anything. But I get you out of a situation. And you don't even offer gratitude. Kana thank you, sir. Kana maita basa ngoti wangu ndandiba tight.
And wakandibuditsa patite.
But munani ngani entitlement uti wangafana ndibetsera ine because you are my sister man wewe. Anti uri cousin yangu. Anti your family. So ngoda ndibetsere nani. You know, that kind of thing. Zvino kudzora kuti but guys, saka is this what I get from helping? Because what I want to get probably are blessings from helping you. Okay. You know, probably I want to gain God's favor from helping. But in turn, it's not just going my way after I do an act of service. I don't know if I make sense.
You are making sense. So your question is, should people then stop? Or
because people actually have stopped. But you know, somehow it doesn't seem never took a lesson from what I did for them, you know. Instead of you know.
I guess it also goes down to our social engineering as a society. I've been in scenarios where someone gives someone money, which clearly they needed. Thank you, actually, I don't know how. It's just a house spark on. And all of that. And in that way. I don't know, but I've always heard the saying, I think I read it in a book. It was the opposite of love is not hate, it's ego.
Okay.
The opposite of love is not hate, it's ego. It's our egos. I think it's Marianne Williamson, I think. Yeah.
Pride.
Yeah, so it's rooted in our human egos. So your human ego says, it's your human ego that erases, sort of, the good that this person has ever done for you and places them on a straight platter with everyone else, so you can treat them anyhow. So I guess that's where it's rooted in.
I get you.
So even as we raise kids, raise them to say thank you, raise them to be appreciative people, raise them to be empaths, people who totally understand. You know, there was that whole thing of waro wade cousin yako vanzi mudzorere. You know? And then even mudzorere and all of that. I don't know the reasoning behind that, but it just created in us people who are vengeful. Like, for every bad thing done to you, do it as well and all of that. And we just create a chain of people who are unappreciated, people who hurt others because they've been hurt. And
So if you decide, because some of these things, like you just said, Kuti, some of these things, we are nurtured in certain ways, you know. We are taught certain things. But in the same vein, if you are then taught to be a selfless woman from 5 years of age, and then obviously you will decide if you want to still be that woman at 20, because you're now, you know, you can think better, you're now mature. What do you stand to benefit? What are the gains of nurturing a selfless woman from a very tender age?
Okay. There is a benefit, but I would give a disclaimer. If whilst we teach our children to be selfless, we should also teach them boundaries.
Absolutely.
To know that I can be selfless up to here.
Yeah.
If a person crosses this line, then because sometimes I've met people who are such givers. They pour until they are pouring from an empty cup.
Yeah.
You know, so anyways, benefits of really of nurturing selfless people is, I think we just breed a society that's well nurtured, people who freely give, and will have more good done than bad.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but like I say, disclaimer, guys, there should always be boundaries.
I asked that question intentionally as well, because my follow-up question was going to be, there are some schools of thought that then say there are downfalls to being selfless.
There are.
You know?
Always, actually.
You stand to be neglected. I've been helping, I've been selfless, selfless. I never got anything for it. Sometimes you get resentment. Sometimes it's even worse, you're a people pleaser.
I, for one, I'm a recovering people pleaser. Because, you know, when you're growing and you're selfless, so and so doesn't have this, you gave them. So and so needs this, you did it for them. And all of that. You get so many claps. Like, good girl. There's also the term good girl. I think we should stop that. Like, say good girl. Okay. Because when you say good girl after a child has done a good thing, do you necessarily mean that they're a bad girl every time they're not doing it? You understand? So we then create an adult who's always trying to be good. Of which sometimes being good is at their inconvenience. And so now I'm just learning to say no when I can't do things.
Yeah.
Because
sometimes you are natured to just, you just help regardless of the situation. Even if it's going to have consequences for you, you're just going to be like, it's fine, I'll help.
And it feels better to explain why you were in so much trouble because you were helping, rather than to just never have been in the trouble.
Yeah, absolutely. Anzi panapa kana munhu ukaziva kuti wakasiyana neumwe munhu pakufunga zvese nepakuita, you definitely respect the next person, and haufi wakaita godo kana kudzikisira munhu. Asi unopedzisira usaite godo nemunhu nekuti unenge uchiziva kuti takasiyana by far, plus tinosimukira pakasiyana mikana uye zuva rimwe chete semweya wekufema. So I think we talked about this earlier as well. Kuti the understanding that we are different in how we approach life, and also the understanding of, this woman, a situation, say, why is she in such a place? I think we lack understanding in most of these situations. And that's why it's easy for me to just say, uyu anenge spoiled you, and uyu anenge anzonya kuyema. Kana kuti uyu namoyo anayo akatongozviunzirawo zvake. Because sometimes we don't understand someone's situation. Someone else says, haisikata komunhu akakubatsira uzofamba achudza vanhu vese, oita futi unhu hwekuti makatadza kuwirirana oti ndipe zvinhu mukatadza kuwirirana oti ndipe zvinhu zvangu zvakanakawo here izvi. And true, that's another perfect example where people help you, they are selfless to be seen.
And then that ceases to be selfless.
Mm.
It ceases to be selfless. There is a difference between munhu ari kukubatsira because they actually see the need to help you, and someone who's helping you because they can afford to or they can.
Mm.
You understand?
Yeah. Yeah.
The selfless one is they couldn't vanga story, no, they had to try, they had to do their best to assist you.
Yeah.
Right? They had to kana angatori nezvishoma akatokubatsira nezvishoma zvaanga nazvo. Then kwozoitwa mbinga yazongo realize that, you know what they need, I'll help them bad. In helping them, I'll keep them on a leash. That's bad.
Yeah.
That's bad.
Because there is a bargain to their help. You know, there's always a but. I've helped you, but you know, and it doesn't work.
Then those people are not selfless. They are selfish.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because
they are
at the
selfish.
end of the day, it's not helping you. They're investing in their future. You are doing investment in your future. You are sort of like munaka kwereta. They are just counting their chances.
Yeah.
In you, I already have someone who's gonna say yes when I ask for something.
Yeah.
And all of that, which is bad.
To just wrap this up, Amina. What does it take now to find that balance you spoke about? Kuti, I want to be selfless, but also I need to have a cap at some point to say, at this point, no mira. And maybe an extension is, with everything that we know about being selfless, why is it we continue sometimes to just be? We can't. It seems as if it takes more for us to be selfless. Sometimes it doesn't need money or anything. It's really just acts.
Okay. I think the first step to cultivating this selflessness is just giving empathy. Empathy. Try to view the world from other people's eyes, not from your own always. Because sometimes you are really privileged. And I'll explain this concept of privilege. All of us are privileged at some point.
Yeah.
All of us are privileged at some point. Privilege is not all about what opportunities you have and what places you have access to. But sometimes in a scenario where mbinganeni taenda kunzvimbo ine snow and ndine juice ndingaina juice and hakuna shop, I'm privileged because ndine juice and ndine extra. So I think we have to be always people who are able to see the world from other people's eyes. That's the first step. To understand, if I was the one in their shoes, how would I feel? If I was the one in their shoes, how would I want to be helped? So in that way, we are able to also be of service to other people in the way that they want to be serviced. Then lastly, like we said, be intentional. Be intentional about it. And then always remind yourself, once it gets uncomfortable, know that probably you've crossed a boundary. Once it starts getting uncomfortable, you are helping, but you watch out, chafari, and all of that, know that you've crossed a boundary.
Absolutely. Understands when you kubatsira asi munhu uya akaenda pamusoro pako aundinyeya ndosha kuti moyo wangu ne uchibatsira ndombozvituka hangu. I think we spoke about this as well, kuti you almost at a point where you regret helping someone. Saka, what was it for? But either way, I want to believe it shouldn't waver you from being selfless.
Yeah, and I've been hearing gossip a lot, like from this whole comment section. I've been hearing a lot of gossip. I think as a people, as culture, especially women, guys, we should stop. Like, Lord, deliver us from the grapevine.
Yeah.
It's not it. It's not it. Because the reason why people do makua or just gossip about other people is to feel good about themselves. So if you trash them up, and at the end of the day, you just feel awful. And even if you're not the one as well, I'm saying I show to the person, you're part of the chain. So it's not worth it.
It doesn't change anything.
We should stop. That culture should stop.
But also, just finally, don't you think that stopping will never really be about the crowd or the group? It's always about that one person, if you find a way to stop, because apana pa ukati ngati mire kudai also artistes it chamira pana chamira but artistes. So don't you think it really is just it then becomes a personal decision at some point to say, I want out of this and I'm not going to do this? And
yeah, it is a personal decision. It is a personal decision. I remember I once did a Q&A on my social media. Just asked people, what's your take on gossip and the grapevine? I have a friend of mine who said, I don't gossip. My mom would actually really reprimand us as kids whenever you wanted to talk about someone else. My mom would say, and she would give you the eye. So now she's an adult, she's 22, and she just doesn't do it. It's in her blood now. She just knows, Kuti, Mama doesn't like this. And now she also doesn't like that.
yeah.
So I'm just like, guys, let's start from the bottom. Because Kusosiyama at 23, when you started at 3.
20 years.
20 years in the industry.
Uchifamba now, Mako.
Uchifamba.
I like it. I think that's actually a nice a nice conversation, you know, the grapevine and how, you know, we can stop all that. I mean, thank you so much for your time. Appreciate you coming through and sharing these invaluable notes, especially the idea of intentionality and doing things in that way. I think it goes a long way. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. It was great being here.
Awesome stuff. 5 minutes before we get to 12, and also that's pretty much how we wrap it up on the Capital Crunch this morning. Thank you so much for coming through. Let's try and do this again tomorrow. Same time, same place, same shit. Remind as well, we've been live on our Facebook page at Capi Talk FM, so you want to check out what's been happening on the Crunch all morning. It's going to be available on our Facebook page. Thank you so much for tuning in. The name is Scatter the Q, the Scatterlizer. Up next is The Pulse with Becky K between 12 and 3 p.m. And you know Becky with the vibes and the energy. That's going to be totally awesome. At Capital FM on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Threads, wherever. Follow us, and at Scatter everywhere as well. Follow me, let's vibe, let's connect. Taking us to the news at 12 is Ja Praiser and NK Music.